thought of. So, Kate, if you want to come up and introduce Jack, that'd be great.
Thank you. Hi, friends. Oh, thanks for joining us this morning. I'm so excited to share the stage today with my greatest spiritual teacher, our son Jack. And hearing from him, because I haven't heard this talk, about the tools that he uses to craft the biggest life and what makes him the boss of his universe. You see, I've been asked so many times, as has my wife Julie, how Jack has become this solid, mature, secure, funny, talented human that he is. I mean, at 17, Jack has perfected focusing and succeeding at whatever he wants. He has started 2 businesses in his young life. When he was interested in performing, he was the lead in multiple musicals, even though I kept telling him, don't expect to get cast as the lead this time. He always did. He was a competitive gymnast. He finished 2nd in the state. He moved into being competitive soccer and basketball player, and now he is on a trajectory to become a professional bodybuilder and on to Mr. Olympia, which I see for him for sure. He has just entered his first weightlifting competition where he shattered the state and national record for his age group by a bunch. It'll be years before anyone cracks that number. I share this with you less to boast, although let's be honest, every parent loves to celebrate their kids' accomplishments, but more to show in some small measure the ways in which Jack has success at creating the life that he wants. You know, I have to share with people when they ask about him and how he's grown into this human that my wife Julie and I, we made some upfront decisions even before he was born that acknowledges that he was going to come into this world perfect and powerful and that our job was simply not to screw it up. I mean, that really has been our focus. So what you see today is pure Jack. It's just that we didn't do anything to cause him to go off on a different path. And if I could exemplify or encapsulate just in a few examples what we chose to do is we leaned into something called conscious parenting, which is very distinct from other styles of parenting. You know, conscious parents are very supportive and responsive, but we set high expectations. But the difference is that those expectations are based on what the child wants and their unique needs and desires. See, conscious parenting emphasizes that this style focuses on raising a child without the need for parental approval. The idea is to empower them to grow within healthy boundaries and become independent thinkers. So Julie and I often discuss how we put up the guardrails for Jack. We allow him to go down the bowling lane in whatever way he sees fit. We're just there to keep him from dropping into the gutters. There's no right way to be a conscious parent, and that's one of the things that's hard about it, because every parent-child relationship is unique. But there are a few key elements or guidelines that we've leaned into from the very beginning. One, we've always seen Jack as a whole person. We knew when he arrived, he would be a divine presence with a personality who has his own thoughts and desires. And we committed to knowing that from the beginning, even before he could speak, that his opinion matters. Even as a very young child, he was a whole person with distinct needs and preferences. And the only way for us to learn that as parents was to ask him what he wanted. No matter the endeavor, we have always supported his dreams and choices. And the thing is that when you do that, when you ask the question, you'll likely find that the child wants things that you don't want. But you still got to support them. 2, we leaned into the philosophy that parenting is a relationship. It is not a transaction. Parenting isn't something that you do to your child. It's an accumulation of interactions. And like any other relationship, it requires taking actions that develop trust, opens the lines of communication, and develops affinity for one another. It's a 2-way relationship. It has to be built on trust. Now, I've made mistakes as a parent, as has Julie, and we apologize directly to Jack when we've done something that we wish we hadn't. And what that does is he knows that he can trust us, and it gives him the chance to show us grace. It also tells him that we don't expect him to be perfect, and we're going to love him unconditionally. We've chosen to never shame him, never to call names, and never to judge. He gets to have an opinion, and we negotiate things, and he is a master negotiator. So he has a voice in the final answer, and sometimes it doesn't go his way. But sometimes he makes compelling arguments, and it ends up being the opposite of what we thought was right. So we didn't just let Jack do whatever he wanted, but we've never made demands or set boundaries without explaining the why behind them, communicating consistently what is acceptable and why. And that way it never felt, I believe, like a dictatorship. Almost never. 3, we've always looked at the bigger picture. You know, kids have feelings, big feelings, no matter their age. And it's easy to get wrapped up in the situations with your kids that allows those circumstances to enrage us or make us assume that we understand the intent and dismiss the child's feelings. Through his life, when Jack has had those big feelings or acted out with anger or frustration, Julie and I would work together, mentoring each other to remember to pull back from that immediate crisis and think, what might he not understand about this situation that allowed him to make a decision that has now caused this issue? Or what is he really frustrated about? Or how can I empower him to get what he needs? So that brings clarity and calm to an angst-filled issue. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could do that with each other in any relationship? We acknowledge that he has to start to be more and more autonomous every year he ages. Right? There's no secret switch that is flipped the day he turns 18 that imbues him with the ability to assess a situation and make an informed decision. So we have allowed him to make larger and larger life decisions on his own by asking him to assess the situation from all angles before deciding. But the decision is, more and more often, his to make. I think it has helped Jack to be a fully functioning person well before he is legally an adult. But it has meant letting go of control of what we think is right for him and trusting that he knows best for himself, just as we know best for ourselves. And last, we have resolved to figure out our own triggers. It's a work in progress. Through CSL, through therapy, through counseling each other, reading, digging, we've learned what triggers us as adults. And when we do that as parents, it allows us to acknowledge our own emotional hurts and getting past them. That then releases the power of the moment when we're triggered, and we can respond as a healthy adult and not a hurt child. So we found several benefits in this. One is that we have a high level of communication in our family because we place a high value on that and on connection. Even when Jack was in preschool, we would have very deep conversations and open dialogue about literally anything. And I think you'll see how those experiences have created the communicator that he is today. You know, the one thing I hear the most about Jack is his high emotional intelligence. Because we relate to him as a fully formed person, we're well aware of our own triggers that we can kind of stop, drop, and roll in moments of stress. It's challenging work at times, but engaging in it leads to increased self-awareness, compassion, and a better sense of control. But there's also the hard part of this kind of parenting, and that's watching your child make mistakes, even though it sounds like a very touchy-feely way of parenting. This form of conscious parenting doesn't focus on making sure a child is happy all the time. Sometimes letting them grow as independent, conscious beings means letting them fail and being there to remind them that it's not the end of the world, even though it most often feels like it is. So the bottom line is that at some point in our youth, we make decisions about who and what we want to be when we grow up. Those decisions are often based on what we loved and didn't love about our own childhoods. The reality is, as Jure said, our kids aren't us. Jack is having a brand new life experience, developing his own opinions about how the world works. And the result is what Jack is going to share with you today. I could not be happier to be the opening act for someone like Jack. Jak Guimbellot-Brundies.
Okay, I am super excited to be here speaking to all of you. I want to start off by saying my mom drastically understated how much they do for me. Yesterday, I was sitting in the living room watching my mom cook for 3.5 hours, making all of my meal preps for the week. And that's one of the smaller things that they do for me. They're pretty amazing. So I want to get it started off, and today I have 3 goals that I want everyone to at least think more in depth on and hopefully come to a conclusion at some point. And that is, number 1, to better determine who you are and what you stand for. 2, create a vision for your future. And 3, build resilience to life's challenges. All right? Now, these seem like really, really big goals, right? But once you break them down, you have to think about them deeper, and it makes them not seem as scary, even though they sort of are. So there are the 12 laws of the universe that I'm a pretty big fan of, and I think they have a lot of application to real-life situations. I took 5 and put them in this lesson because I personally believe that they're the most important, and the ones that I've used throughout my journey so far. And I call them the key pillars to success. All right? So the first pillar is the law of oneness. And this isn't so much a tool for success, but almost just an idea to make the rest of the tools more powerful. And it's the idea that every event in some way is connected to anything and everything else, right? But that also sounds scary. But you have to change the way that you think about it. The way that you interpret those events then changes how those events affect anything and everything else. So you have to try to interpret things as the cup is half full and not half empty. And that leads into the law of vibration. Now, I would prefer if it was stated as the law of energy, because I feel like that's a better way to visualize it. But I like to visualize it as you're standing in a room with 4 walls, and you bring off energy. Whether it's negative, positive, you hold a door open for someone, you compliment someone, you insult someone, negative or positive energy. And I view that energy as a sound wave, right? And it shoots off, and it goes, and it hits that wall, and it'll bounce back. And so you give off positive, guess what happens? You get more positive energy back. But the exact opposite can happen when you give off negative energy. And sometimes it'll build up and build up and build up and hit you. And if the negative energy hits you, then it's really easy to give off more negative energy. And it becomes this vicious cycle, and almost a snowball effect. But that's where the mindset shift comes in. And it can seriously drag you out of what seems like a terrible situation or happenstances back to back. And then here's where it really gets exciting. The next laws are the tools that I use to, I guess, craft my future. So the third law is the law of attraction. It's just the idea that you get what you focus on, right? I think we can all agree on that. If you focus on something and you work on it, it has a better chance of coming to you than if you don't focus on it. But a lot of people will use verbal affirmations and just say it out. Universe, God, I know you're going to do this for me, right? I know. Let's use a raise, for example. I know you're going to give me this raise, right? A lot of people don't truly believe that. And so the verbal affirmations don't have much power behind them. It's when you truly believe in your soul, I deserve this raise, I deserve this or that. Then you combine it with the verbal affirmations. Then they have power behind them. And the universe is really good at, telling who's lying and not actually believing it. But the universe also knows when you do believe it, and it makes it pretty hard for it to turn you down when you truly believe it. So that's half the battle. The other half of the battle is the law of inspired action. This one is probably the simplest out of all of them. Take action, right? Now that you truly believe it and you've spoke those words out, take action. Let's go back to the raise. You go 110% at your job. You just go all in, right? It is so gosh darn hard to fail when you truly believe it, you speak it out, and you take that action. How can that be denied from you, right? Whatever you're aiming for. And then a lot of the reason that people fall off and think, maybe you've tried it out, right? You've tried out manifestation or taking action, and it didn't really work out, right? You have to remember the law of cause and effect. And sometimes those manifestations and those actions don't really work out. When I did basketball, I would train for at least every day for at least 3 hours a day, usually more, at least 3 hours a day, and I would manifest it. I would say, I want to be successful. I want my moms to be proud of me. I mean, they are proud of me, but so proud of me. And I would manifest this, and I also took the action, and it didn't really happen. I was never even top 5 on any of my teams. I was never very good, right? But I was manifesting success. I was manifesting loving what I'm doing, right? Basketball turned out to not be my thing. I didn't get very good at it, right? So I switched over to full-time weightlifting, bodybuilding, trying to build my strength and muscle, and I found so much success through that facet. And I think that it was a sign of the universe did hear me and heard that manifestation, saw me take that action, but knew that I wanted success, but that success would come from a different area. So after 2 years of manifestation, it finally came around in a way that I was not expecting. I believe that everything on a metaphysical level has a physical counterpart, and I think that an amazing example for why you can't give up on the manifestation and the action is a Chinese bamboo tree. It seems really random, but when you plant a Chinese bamboo tree, it takes 5 years to grow. It has to be watered and fertilized every single day in the exact spot where you planted it. For 5 years, there is zero growth. All your farmer friends who planted bamboo trees with you, they all quit. Bob quit after a year because there was no growth. Susie quit after 2 years because there was no growth. But you woke up every single morning and went, watered it, fertilized it for 5 years straight, not seeing anything. That is 260 weeks. After that 260-week period, in a period of 5 weeks, the tree grows to 90 feet tall. I believe that this is a perfect example of how the manifestation and action takes place. Sometimes it'll come immediately, or it'll come in a week. Sometimes it takes a month, a year, 5 years, 20 years. But if you keep at it, that tree will shoot out of the ground at a time you're not expecting it. And I feel like the other reason that it might feel overwhelming to start to manifest and take that action is it feels too late. I have too much debt. I'm just not. I don't have what I want. I don't have the tools that I need. My favorite quote is, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now." No matter how far behind you feel, plant that tree. Because then, a year or 5 or 10 years from now, you're going to say, thank goodness I planted that tree then, and I don't have to start now. So, this is what you should walk away from this lesson knowing. It's number one, you are in control. You're not in control of all the events and things that happen to you. That would make you, I guess, a god, technically. But you have complete 100% control over how you respond to the things that happen to you. Number 2 is understand nothing is impossible. No matter how far it seems, nothing is impossible. Whatever someone has that you see and you think, well, yeah, they attained that. I couldn't do that. They thought the exact same thing. And they ended up in that position. Nothing is impossible. Keep that in mind. Number 3, my mom was jotting down the notes for me as I was talking about what I wanted to speak on in this lesson. And she wrote it down like this. And I was thinking about phrasing it differently, but I'll stick with it because I think it's a good phrase. The universe is your homie. And it's pretty much saying the universe has your back. Whatever you want, the universe wants for you. But you have to give it the tools to make that happen. Without tools, it can't help you out. But it really wants to. So give it the manifestation, give it the action, and the universe will be your homie. That's my lesson. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not going to stand real close to him because I suddenly feel very out of shape. So you stay right there. Thank you. That's even better. We wanted to do something that maybe we don't do a lot, if ever. We wanted to see if you had any questions for Jak. So I have a couple I want to ask. Maybe that'll give you a chance to think of some that you haven't. I'll bring the microphone to you. So your two moms are here.
Yes.
Kate and Julie. Tell us about your two dads and where they're at.
Well, so they're in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. Living up, having a great time. You know, they have a pool and a hot tub.
So you go there a lot.
Which I utilize both very often every time I go down there. But, yeah, I think they also had an impact on how I grew up to where I am today. I think they're very they have a lot of humility, both of them, and I don't think I would be as well-rounded of a person without them, because they showed me a combination of humor and confidence that not a lot of people exemplify as well as them. And then I'm switching over real quick. I just want to say that the person that I am today is very much caused by everyone here, by this whole community. I think that if I didn't grow up going here almost every Sunday, that I would not even be close to the person that I am today. So I personally wanted to thank everyone here in the entire community so much.
Okay, so I have one more question, then I'll see what you have.
Awesome.
When I was 17, you're 17?
Yes.
When I was 17, the deepest thoughts I had was how to sneak beer out into the country and sit in the car and somehow find my way home. And I'm not saying you've never done that, but I think Kate said that you had started two businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can you say real quickly what those two businesses were?
So the first one, it was de-established a few years ago. It's Scoop the Poop Olathe. Yeah. Real proud of that one. No, it was awesome. It was my first job, self-employed, and I was able to buy a pair of AirPods. That was pretty great. And then the second one, I didn't necessarily have a name for it, but I started a shoe reselling business that actually did quite well. It also gave me an opportunity to keep some of the shoes for myself. They effectively paid for them, because I would usually sell them for double and just get 2 pairs and keep one for myself. It was but yeah, sneaker reselling.
So you and Patrick Mahomes are tennis shoe people.
Yeah. No, we were talking about it the other day. Yeah.
You were you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know you're just like that with Patrick Mahomes. So anybody else have a question that I could bring the mic to you? We're going to put you on the spot, Jack.
Okay.
First, I just want to say thank you for engaging with life with such enthusiasm. It shines, brother. It shines. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
my question is, you started out with 3 things: determine who I am, what I want, and then there was a vision and a resilience. What was the vision? Thank you.
Create a vision for your future. I like to think of sculpting what comes next, right? Like a Michelangelo, chipping away. Yeah.
Okay, you next. Okay.
Okay, you are awesome, Jack, and
Thank you.
I love your moms. So Tom Jacobs and I were talking yesterday about crafting your vision and getting almost like downloads or intuitive messages or things from God or the universe, whatever word resonates for you. And so we have these specific habits that work for individuals where they are more receptive to those messages. And I'm curious, what are those habits or things that you do to help you have more clarity around your vision?
I would say, for me, the biggest key is visualization. It comes naturally. I know for some people it's not a very natural thing, but I can't really help myself. The shower's warming up and I'm standing in front of the mirror posing, winning my 5th Mr. Olympia, like that. So that's probably. I love visualizing. It's lots of fun. But yeah, I would say visualizing for sure.
Hey, Jack, great talk.
Thank you.
A thought occurred to me. Sometimes when you get bogged down, you just kind of seem to fall off track. What do you do to get yourself back on track? So
yeah, I I feel like I'm affected by that problem a lot. I always feel, even if I missed a workout or I've just been off for the week or whatever, it immediately makes me pull back. But it brings me to the quote that I have here: the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. For me, it helps a lot to remember that and think, okay, yeah, I didn't do that thing that I was supposed to do yesterday or a day before or a week before. I just do it now, right? Or else you're going to wish that you did it now in 10 days, right? So I think that quote personally helps me a lot.
Okay. Jack, I want to know, when you're stressed out, how do you take care of yourself, like self-care routine?
So I'm not amazing at handling stress. That's one of the things that I still need to work on. But a lot of the time, it just looks like doing what I enjoy, whether that's sitting down with my moms and watching TV or YouTube or a card game. But just doing what I enjoy. I think that's one of the best things someone can do when stressed out.
Way in the back, okay? Okay. Go for it.
Yeah. So a lot of my friends are friends that I've had since I was, maybe 9 years old. And so a lot of them don't really have the same mindsets as me. But that's okay, because I try my best to set a good example for them, but especially at this younger age, they don't really listen. They do whatever they want, right? I'm almost in a parent position with them, right? So, but I set a good example, I like to think, and I think that it definitely has rubbed off on them. I've seen a lot of their work ethics increase exponentially compared to, and a lot, that I'm not taking claim for that. A lot of it is them growing as people. But I like to think that, you know, I set that example for them.
Okay, so if you have any questions for Jack,
There's one online.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
This is from Crystal Davis. How do you handle differences with your moms when you want to do something they might not agree with?
Okay, that's a good one.
Kate and Julie, you want to leave the room?
So when my mom was up here talking, she brought up how a lot of the time we'll negotiate or have sort of debates, right? Civil, like they're constructive, but we'll debate over topics. And I think that a lot of parents aren't willing to do that, and I got so lucky that I have parents who will do that, because some just tunnel vision. I'm not listening. No, I'm not. No, you're not doing that. You're not doing that, right? Instead, we don't always sit down. Sometimes we're standing, but we sit down and we just have a conversation about it. And, you know, they'll bring up their points and I'll bring up mine. And usually I'm leaving the room sort of like, man, you know, because a lot of the time I don't win because they're smarter than me. But instead of feeling like I can't believe him, like why, I understand where they're coming from. Sometimes I'm not happy about it, but I understand. And I think that's the most important part.
There have been many, many times when Julie and I have a gut instinct, and it's always based in fear, right? It's always based in, we know you're great. I mean, Jack has made the choice not to drink, not to do drugs. Those are his choices, and he stands by them. He doesn't judge anyone. And yet, he puts himself at times in situations where that is happening around him. And so when he says, hey, Mom, I want to go to this after party, and we're like, I don't know, and, you know, we talk about it, and we're like, you know, Jack, we just got to sit with that for a bit. But then we go back to, he has never given us one reason not to trust him, ever, ever. And so, actually, more often than not, we lean into it, and we say, okay, like, but you've got to keep your Life 360 on, and if you're not going to stay there, you have to let us know. And every night when he comes home, because he doesn't have a curfew, because he's never given us cause to give him one, he has to wake me up. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't care what time it is. He has to wake me up, because otherwise I will wake up in a start in the middle of the night. So more often than not, you actually win.
The true win is every single time I wake her up, I get to see her go.
It's true. And that's from a complete snoring position, too.
Yeah.
So if you have any other questions, would you just be at the door?
Yeah,
as
yeah,
people
sure.
leave to greet them and ask questions?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, sounds
Thank
great.
you.
All right, thank you. Mm-hmm. I'll grab the cup.